Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. And the end is in sight, Austin, as you and I continue our top 10 list. And now we are finishing up fielders as we are in the top 10 right fielders list.
Yeah, this was a list that at the very bottom of it was very hard for me to do because I think there's like a couple different ranges for these. There's I think everything 7 and above, for me at least, is pretty good. Like they are very good, really. 8 and 9 are good, and some are like 8 is wait to be seen. But then 10 was really hard for me to come up with. So I do not have any honorable mentions for that reason.
So I have 2 honorable mentions. It's funny because they both play for the Rangers or played for. You have Brandon Nimmo and I think and Adolis Garcia. Adolis Garcia, to me, it was a fantastic right fielder when the Rangers won the World Series. He still has a great Gold Glove, but it's been his bat that's been an issue. But I think I'm curious to see how he does with the Phillies. Nimmo, I don't think he'll do great defensively for the Rangers as he is older, and right field is a big commitment for someone getting older. I am curious to see how he does as a bat, though. So that's why there are 2 honorable mentions for me.
Okay, because you did your honorable mentions, I'll go into my number 10 first, and it's Mike Yastrzemski. Yastrzemski had a very good, actually pretty elite end of the season. He had a 131 OPS plus in his games with the Royals, which were 50 games. He had a 1 WAR in those 50 games. He did end the season with a round 3 WAR, the highest of his career at 2.8. And he's a pretty good hitter. I mean, he's had an OPS over 100 every season except for 2022. He's had over 2 WAR every year of his career, including 2020, which he was finished 8th in MVP voting. I don't know if you knew that. Mike Yastrzemski was 8th in MVP voting in the NL in 2020. But he's a consistent player, and I think this year he will probably get his career high in WAR. He is a little bit older. This will be his age 35 season, but I expect him to have a good year this year. The Royals, I think, will be a pretty underrated team, and as long as Yastrzemski plays how I think he'll play, I think that he'll be pretty good for the Royals this year.
Yeah, so Yastrzemski did not make my list, but that is a good player to mention. But yes, he had a great surge this season, but he just didn't make my list. My number 10 is Lawrence Butler for the Athletics, as he had a great year last year. I want to say batted 284, and he's someone to where that I think defensively he provides an interesting value, because I was curious if he did play right field, but I think his bat is there, and he really showed an amazing season at the plate for the Athletics.
Yeah, he probably would be an honorable mention for me. My problem is that last year he just had such a bad regression. His OPS plus was 96, which is not good, and his D-WAR was also negative. He had 1.9 WAR last year. If he can bring back what he was the year before, when he had a 131 OPS plus in 125 games with 3 WAR in 2024, last year he was just a little bit of a negative on both the plate and hitting-wise. Defensively. So he did not make my list. Who's your 9?
My 9 is Sal Frelick from the Milwaukee Brewers, and I want to say he's a very young player, similar to Butler, and I want to remember his stats as I go over it. He had a 3 WAR last year, his best of his career so far. He was hitting 288, OPS plus 111. So to me, I think he was continuing to grow as Milwaukee, of course, had a great year, and he had a great year helping them. So because of that performance and his uprise on the trajectory in his first 3 years, that he was number 9 on my list.
Yeah, he also did not make my list. South Fraley kind of had a down year last year defensively after being a Gold Glove winner the year before. He only had .2 DWAR, and I don't think his bat is good enough to be in right field if he's not being a great fielder. So my number 9, and this is kind of, they're very comparable players in my opinion, is Seiya Suzuki. Suzuki, because of the absence of Kyle Tucker, will move back into right field. He played a lot of DH last year, and he's not a great fielder. He made 3 errors last season in his only 32 games in right field, which isn't obviously great, but he's still with 20th in MVP voting because of how good he is at hitting the baseball. He had 103 RBIs, 32 home runs. He only hit 245, which isn't great, but had a 130 OPS plus, and he's had a 130 OPS plus his last 3 seasons. I think that he, while not being the greatest fielder, which is what puts him at 9, is still so good with the bat in his hands that he deserves to be in the list.
Yeah, that's a good argument. He is in my top 10. I'm a little bit higher, but my 8 is Wilyer Abreu with the Boston Red Sox. 3rd year as well, a little bit less WAR. Second season he had 3.4 WAR. This year he had a 3.2, and his batting average was 247, but he had an OPS plus of 116. So for me, I think he's continuing to develop at the plate. Not a great batting average, but doing well with an OPS plus. So I think he was a guy that has done well for Boston as they kind of have a youth movement in the outfield.
Yeah. We finally have an agreement. So I was kind of 50-50, and I actually have a slash here because I think they would be the same. Is I have Roman Anthony or Wilyer Abreu. Abreu played all of his games in right field, so I put the edge over him for being right field. But also, Roman Anthony did play more games at right field than any other position. And I think if Roman Anthony is going to be the primary right fielder, then he would be here on the list. But I'm fine putting Wilyer Abreu here as well. So you can really pick your poison at 8 for me between one of those two guys in Boston. It's really just comes down to who's going to play.
Yeah, I would be fine with that as well because I wasn't really sure where Roman Anthony is going to play.
Anthony played most of his games at right field, but Wilyer Abreu also played basically all of his games at right field. So it's kind of and they play for the same team, which makes it a little bit confusing. Mm-hmm. So I'll go into my 7. My 7 is really where I think the quality of talent at the position skyrockets, and it's George Springer. Springer's my number 7. I know that he's historically played a lot of center field, especially with Houston, but he's a right fielder now, and he played most of his games in right field, and especially with Dalton Varsho, he'll be playing a lot of the center field action. So George Springer, as a right fielder, has been very good. Last year, he was 7th in MVP voting, had 309 batting average, 161 OPS plus, and even though he's going to be 36 this year, he has shown no signs of slowing down. Last season was amazing. Even in the playoffs, he played extremely well against good pitching, and I expect him to be the 7th best right fielder this year. Age is a little bit why he's down.
Yeah, so Springer is not on my list, but I can see the argument because I have Springer as a DH. I was looking at Baseball Reference.
Who's playing right then?
I think they were going to go with a young guy because I was looking at Sports Reference and it had D for, to me, designated hitter for his positions. And a lot of the lists I had seen had him as a DH. So that's why he wasn't on my right field list.
Got it. Okay, that works.
But if he was playing right field, he would definitely be there. That's why my 7 is Seiya Suzuki. You brought him up. He is going back there because Kyle Tucker left. And I played, but you mentioned his defense. But to me, he's had a couple of good years in the MLB, so that's why he's at 7 above the guys that are still relatively young.
Yeah, that is a good point. I did have him a little bit below you, but that's also with some of the guys not being the exact same. So
So
my
that would be
number
6.
6, right? Yeah, my 6 is Kyle Tucker. Tucker is going to be with the Dodgers this year. They keep getting richer, and I expect him to have a little bit of a better season than he had last year, especially towards the end. He started the season amazingly, but towards the end he kind of fell lower and lower on the totem pole. And even with that, though, he's still a solid fielder. Not great. He has won Gold Glove in the past, and is a great hitter. And they're not going to be able to pitch around him as much as they did in Chicago. So he's probably going to have a great year.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher than you. My 6 is Ronald Acuna Jr. Because I think he's dealt with a lot of injuries in the past. He's a fantastic player when he's on the field, but there have been moments where he deals with a lot of injuries with his ACL. So that is why he's lower on the list, is because of his injuries. And how are his injuries going to affect his fielding ability? Because he's a good fielder, but as he continues to get older and deals with more injuries, and has dealt with injuries to his legs and to his knees, I think that's going to negatively impact his defensive abilities in the field.
Who is it again?
Ronald Acuna.
Okay. I have him a little bit higher than you. My number 5 is Corbin Carroll. Carroll is a player that is obviously coming off a year that's been riddled with injuries as well. But we all know the player he can be. He ended up playing 143 games, but he did miss some time. He was 6th in MVP voting, though. And this is really the year for the Diamondbacks to prove that they do not need a major rebuild. They have Cattell, they have Perdomo, they have obviously Corbin Carroll. They have some young guys coming up. They should have decent pitching. And Carroll, I expect to be very good. The only thing that's kind of soured me on him a little bit is his batting average only being 259 but he's still a great hitter. I mean, a 140 OPS plus. Again, when you hit, I think it was 7 in mine, you really get into some elite hitters.
Yeah, it's packed with elite hitters, and that's why you and I are in agreement on Corbin Carroll at 5. I think he could have been higher, but he is going to miss part of the season due to his Hamlet bone getting dealing with that injury, and I'm curious how that's going to affect his swing.
Yeah, I am too. That's another reason why I had him at this point. I'm glad we agree on it. My 4 is Ronald Acuna. Acuna last year, I know that he's been dealing with injuries, but he still had a 290 batting average in his 95 games, 417 on base percentage, a 163 OPS plus, 21 homers in 95 games, 3 WAR. It played amazing. I know that he has dealt with injuries in the past, and that does kind of make me worried, but I'm assuming this is going to be a healthy year for him. He's only 28, which it seems like he's been playing in the league forever at this point, but I expect him to have a great year.
Yeah, I understand that. My 4 is Kyle Tucker, so I think we flip our 6 and 4 because you had Kyle Tucker at 4.
Yep.
Or at 6.
Yeah. I'm a 6. We flipped our 4 and 6. You're right.
Yeah. So to me, Kyle Tucker, yes, he did have a low year with batting average at the plate, 266, but he still had a 136 WRC plus, 4.5 F WAR. And I do think it's going to get better with the Dodgers. And he was a top free agent this year, and I think he backs that up. Sad it's going to be with the Dodgers. I wish he could have stayed with the Cubs. But honestly, once you get to Acuna, in my opinion, at 6, that is where I'd be happy with any of these guys being in the right field because of how elite they are as hitters.
Yeah. That's kind of like, that's why I said when I hit 7, it's kind of like these guys are elite of elite. And if Springer plays DH this year, I know I thought he played DH towards the end of the year because of the injury he had during the season. I didn't think that was because he transitioned to it. Maybe you're right. I did just look at a DH list because you mentioned that. I do see him on it. I'm not going to have him on mine, but you can obviously have him on yours. With no qualms from me. My number 3 is Tatis. Tatis has had ups and downs. Him and the San Diego Padres have had ups and downs continuously. I said the same thing about Manny Machado. But when Tatis is playing, I mean, it's a sight to watch. He was 8th in MVP voting this year. He had a 268 batting average, and again, that's kind of low for what we kind of expect from him. I mean, his career average is 277. I expect around that this season. His OPS plus, ever since he's come back from his PED suspension, has not been the same as it was before that. Before that, his OPS plus was 154, 156, 166. His last 3 seasons have been 110, 130, and 125. This is going to be a big season for him. He's going to be 27, and this is really the year that he needs to prove to everybody that he is the player that we all expect him to be. He still has not gotten back to his pre-PED suspension WAR at 6.6 high, but we all know he can reach it. The PEDs were not why he is as talented as he is, and I expect him to have a good year. This past year in the playoffs, though, he did have a 083 batting average, which is not good, but career in the playoffs, he has been good at a 317 batting average, and I expect the Padres to be heavily reliant on his services, and I fully expect him to have a MVP caliber season.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to be in agreement on the next 3 because 3 is Fernando Tatis for a lot of the reasons you said. He is such a dynamic athlete, which has kind of helped him with his transition from a shortstop a few years ago to now right field. Does well defensively, and his bat is not as good as it was before that PED suspension, but it's still, he provides a great runner on the bases as well as getting on base through walks and hits. So there's not really an argument to make for how he could be higher, because to me, I'll go into my 2. Juan Soto is great offensively, incredible talent at the plate. Defensively, he is okay, and he does well, but I that's not what he's there in New York for. He's there for his bat.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that 2 of the best 3 hitters in the sport are at right field, and the Yankees had 2 of them at one point. Man, that'll never come back. He did have his career high WAR with the Yankees that year, but last year 6.2 WAR. People are like, "Oh, he's playing bad," and then I look at, he has 38 stolen bases, the highest of his career by far. Led the NL in stolen bases. Juan Soto led the NL in stolen bases, as long as it's correct. Stolen bases. Yeah, he had 38. How many did Ohtani have? Did Ohtani not have that much?
I'm surprised that Juan Soto 38 is an accomplishment for him.
Ohtani only had 20. Never mind. Okay, so
wow.
he led the NL in stolen bases. He led the NL in stolen bases, walks, and OBP. There's only 2 hitters. The guy's hitting the ball, I would take over him, and that's Judge and Ohtani. That's it. We can talk about defense that, defense this. He's not a terrible defender. He's not great. He's not good. He's below average. It does not. If he says, "I don't want to DH, I want to play right field," you got it. I'm not. We're not in an argument here, Juan Soto. If you want to play in the field, because you are that good of a hitter, just an elite talent in every form of the word, he will win an MVP before his career ends.
Yeah, he will, and I think it's just tough with kind of the people he's competing against, especially in the NL with Ohtani. But yeah, he's incredible. And when I talk about fielding, I think Aaron Judge is fantastic in the field, as well as being, you could argue, the best hitter, one of the best hitters, tons of MVPs, did well in the playoffs. So there wasn't really an argument for who was going to be at number 1 in this list.
He's the best hitter in baseball. I'll say it if you want. I definitely think that, I mean, if you just look highest batting average, highest OBP, highest slugging, highest OPS plus, highest ROBA, highest RBAT plus, highest the most total bases in the AL, most intentional walks. Yeah, intentionally walked 36 times. That is a crazy number. And now that hopefully Stanton is healthy for the majority of the season, that number will be lower, so that they have to pitch to one or the other. To put that in perspective, the most that Ohtani's ever had in his career was 21, and the most what he had last season was 20, while Judge had 36 times he got walked last year. Played 152 games with 53 home runs, 114 RBIs, 124 walks, the second to only Juan Soto in the entirety. baseball. 9.7 WAR. He's had 3 seasons above or at or above 9.7 WAR. Second best player, depends if Otani's pitching, in my opinion, but there's no argument that he's at minimum the second best hitter in the sport. I would argue the best hitter in the sport. We can obviously have that argument, but Judge is a special. I think generational gets thrown around way too much. It's not getting thrown around here. He is a generational player.
Yeah, he's fantastic, especially with his size and what he can do just with the bat, as well as hitting for average, which he showed this year. So incredible, and I'm curious to see how well he does with the Yankees again. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.